For the love of all that is holy, we are glad that one is behind us. The Colts won one of the least attractive football games that we have ever seen tonight, and we're going to tell you all about it. Let's get to it.
You are Locked On Colts, your daily Indianapolis Colts podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for tuning in and making us your number one listen of the day, even though, nope, it is the number one listen of the day because it's after midnight now. Indisputable. This is your daily podcast covering your Indianapolis Colts, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, where the game starts. This is Jake Arthur, and I'm joined once again by my PIC, Zach Hicks. You know the two of us from horseshoehuddle.com. Today, we're obviously going to talk to you all about the Colts' overtime win against the Broncos on Thursday Night Football. They win 12 again in overtime. They get the field goal. They get the kind of goal line stand-ish within 5 yards or so against the Broncos. Stephon Gilmore steps up and saves the day once again. Man, so everything that we complain about on a daily basis was put into the national spotlight on Thursday night, and man, Twitter was popping all night. It was entertaining.
It was a fun night on Twitter, not a fun night watching football at all. I'm wearing my Avenged Sevenfold shirt here because it was a nightmare out there, guys. I mean, this game was brutal. I think both these defenses are very solid. I think the Broncos are gonna finish with a fringe top 5 defense in football this year. Like, they're really, really good defense, especially when they're healthy. And the Colts are gonna finish with a fringe top 10 defense. Like, I'm pretty convinced this Colts defense is gonna be good. But when you combine two really solid defenses or two above average defenses with probably the two worst offenses in football, along with a bunch of injuries, you get the ugliest slop fest that you can get. I don't know how either team comes out of this game feeling better. Like, I feel good about Gus Bradley in the defense. That's and Alec Pierce on offense, but that's all I got. That's literally all I got. I think these 10 days are going to be long, man. These are going to be a long 10 days until the next game because it was a disaster class for most of this game. And I don't really think there's much to be proud of for the Colts outside of their defense. Like, I'm glad they won, and a win's a win at the end of the day, but gosh, I mean, it is a train wreck on the offensive side of the ball right now.
It truly is. And of course it was a game full of field goals. The star of the game has to be Chase McLaughlin. So no, 4 field goals from him. 2 of them were from 50 plus. So the Colts were barely close enough to get there. The last one in overtime was 48. So essentially a 50-yarder. Just an ugly game. And honestly, you mentioned coming out of the game not feeling better. There were some toughies in this one. Nyheim Hines on the first drive goes out with a concussion. Kind of gets his bell rung on a reception. Yeah, he had the same thing we saw with Tua and so many guys before, where they just kind of lose control of their body as they're walking. Terrible to see for him. You know, we're big Nyheim Hines fans here, so hopefully he's feeling better and gets better soon. Kwity Paye, that was a big one. Fourth quarter, he went down as he was kind of going through the line at Russell Wilson. It was the play that Rodney Thomas got his interception, and he goes down and he starts holding. I can't remember anymore whether it was the right or left, but he was holding the back of his lower leg. You know, we can't say for sure until someone comes out with a report or the MRI shows it. But I mean, it looks like an Achilles, and if that's the case, that'd be the season.
Yeah, best case is a high ankle sprain that just, high ankle sprain, he would miss 4 to 6 weeks. But yeah, if it's Achilles, that's brutal, man, because that's tough to come back from as a pass rusher. So we just gotta hope and pray it's not an Achilles, but yeah, it did not look good. It did not look good at all.
Yeah, no doubt. Ryan Kelly went out in the first half, hip injury. Danny Pinter came in for him, and then Ashton Dulin went out with a foot. I don't think Dulin came back, did he?
No,
I didn't notice him come back. Yeah, so that's the 4 injuries I can recall that were noteworthy. Obviously, the first 2 we definitely have to keep an eye on those. But yeah, this was one of the ugliest games that I can recall watching in so long, and it lived up to the Thursday Night Football slop that we always used to see in the early Thursday Night Football days. Both teams, again, it was a defensive slugfest. The defenses were great. Offenses, no one wanted to win. The Colts were 4 of 16 on third down. Broncos were 2 of 15 on third down. They combined to go 0 and 6 in the red zone. Again, only 6 trips in the red zone combined is bad enough, but no one scored a touchdown in there. The Colts had 2 turnovers and 6 sacks. Broncos 2 turnovers and 4 sacks. 15 combined penalties. It was an ugly, ugly day, Zach. So of course you're going home with a win. That's cool that you get your win. You get to kind of 500 in the win-loss column, 2-2-1. But do you foresee any fallout from this? They're going into the mini bye with a week and a half now, rather than the standard just week of rest. So do you see anything else coming?
I mean, I feel like you do have to make a move at offensive line coach at this point. And it's not even just, I mean, this isn't even saying Chris Strasser's at fault, but when you have every single offensive lineman playing as poorly as they are, I mean, like we joked earlier in the season that this is the highest paid offensive line and they're playing poorly, like they're playing bad, but like this is the worst offensive line in football right now. Like by far and away, the worst offensive line in the entire league, and they are getting paid the most among all offensive lines. Like Matt Ryan right now is on pace to be sacked like a record amount. He's going to fumble a record amount. He's throwing picks off of pressure and stuff like that. Now, I'm not trying to excuse Matt Ryan's play whatsoever. Matt Ryan was putrid in this game, aside from the pressures. But this offensive line, I mean, literally every single passing play, Matt Ryan was under duress. I think that this offensive line is in just disaster mode, and I think you need to do something drastic. And I do think firing Chris Strasser, Kevin Mawae, you got to turn those guys. You got to get them out of the building just to hold somebody accountable. Bring in someone who Reich has worked with in the past. I know a guy like Eugene Chung is out there who's still not hired right now. He's a guy who worked with Reich in Philly, worked under Jeff Stoutland out there in Philly, one of the best offensive line coaches in football. Just got to do something with this O-line because, again, it's hard to just say this offensive line coach's fault for these players just failing at every single level, but like, you got to hold someone accountable. You're not going to cut Quentin Nelson. You just signed him to that big deal. So I don't know, but they need to do some drastic changes. I don't know. Like Matt Pryor should not see the field, and neither should Bernard Ryman. But I think the best case of what they should do after this 10-day bye is probably Dennis Kelly at left tackle, Quentin Nelson and Ryan Kelly or Danny Pinter at center. I don't really care who you put there. And then Will Fries at guard and Braden Smith at right tackle. I think that's the only way you can go at this point. But like, maybe they need to bring in a veteran too. I don't know. Maybe it's got to look like Eric Flowers. I think is still out there. Like I don't know. This offensive line is absolutely broken though. This was
no kidding.
I mean, they look bad in other games, but this was the worst yet. And this was against the Broncos pass rush that was missing their top pass rusher, Baron Browning, who had like 25 pressures tonight, left in the third quarter. And then the rookies behind him didn't miss a beat. Like it was every single snap. I mean, Matt Pryor cannot touch the field again. Like he really cannot touch the field. Bernard Ryman is not even close to ready. So yeah, I mean, we can go in on the offensive line here in the next segment, but like, they have to do something completely drastic with this O-line. I don't care if you're benching star players at this point. Like it is just downright dreadful what's going on with this offensive line.
Yeah, and again, like you said, we'll get to it again here in a minute. They did try to make some changes, but I don't think it's just personnel that is going to make the difference. Like the coaching, it's gotta change. Like the coaching is clearly bad too. It's not just the players, how they're performing. There's clear miscommunications, and I don't know, the lack of trust that I don't want to say that because, I mean, were not out there. But it looked like a lack of trust, at least in the first few weeks with those guys. But it was the same 5 guys lining up together since the spring. So how's the coaching allow that to even happen? But yeah, again, we'll get to that in a moment. Obviously, the Colts offense could use some better security up front. So we're going to tell you guys about the security experts in Simply Safe. All right, here's a sports analogy for you guys. When it comes to burglars, your home is like the end zone, and you need the absolute strongest defense you can muster, like the Colts, as opposed to their offense. This is why I use and trust Simply Safe Home Security. At Simply Safe, your safety is the only thing that matters. It's cutting-edge technology powered by 24/7 professional monitoring agents who always have your back, so you know that your home is safe. Personally, I live in a pretty safe area, but there's a lot of home remodeling going on in the community, which always brings out the thieves. There was a house down the street that just got broken into for someone wanted to steal their tools, whatever. That, and you always have porch pirates. It's about to be Christmas season coming up, so you can never take your security too lightly. With 24/7 professional monitoring, Simply Safe's agents call you the moment a threat is detected and dispatch police or first responders in an emergency, even if you're not home or can't be reached. Simply Safe blankets your home in protection with advanced sensors for every room, window, and door, HD security cameras for inside and outside your home, smarter ways to detect motion that only alert you when a threat is real, and even hazard sensors that instantly detect fires, floods, and other threats to your home. Our monitoring experts use proprietary advanced response technology to visually confirm when a break-in is real so that you actually get the highest priority police dispatch. Customize the perfect system for your home specifically in just a few minutes at simplysafe.com/lockedonnfl. Save 20% on your Simply Safe security system when you sign up for an interactive monitoring plan and get your first month free. Visit simplysafe.com/lockedonnfl to learn more. There's no safe like Simply Safe. All right, Zach, so just to kind of tie up the offensive line here, what the Colts did last week, it was Matt Pryor, Quentin Nelson, Ryan Kelly. They swapped in Will Fries at right guard and then Braden Smith. Tonight, out of nowhere, on a short week where they had no real official practices, it was Bernhard Raimann at left tackle making his debut. Quentin Nelson, Ryan Kelly, Matt Pryor. Nope. Who was right guard? Braden Smith went into right guard from right tackle, and then Matt Pryor went out to right tackle. It did not work. It was terrible. They got no push in the run game. They got pushed back in pass protection. It was terrible. The Broncos just absolutely owned them. And I kind of give them a discount on that one, too, because it's like you're making that many changes on a short week with no practice. It's a pretty bold move that failed.
Yeah, no, I think for me, I appreciate now Braden Smith's right tackle play the first 4 weeks. It was bad. Braden Smith the first 4 weeks was really bad at playing right tackle, but this game, Matt Pryor was an abject disaster. Like, he was we're talking Raven Clark level, like that. Like, we're talking who's some other guys I could throw out there. I can't even think of some of these other right tackles.
Julian Davenport.
Julian Davenport. Dude, Julian Davenport was watching this game being like, wow, that's awful tackle play. Like, Julian Davenport is like, man, I could have done better than this. I mean, Sam Tebby in the preseason is better than this. I am just absolutely baffled that Matt Pryor Matt Pryor last season was fine whenever he played. Like, he was perfectly fine. I have no clue how he went from, like, again, fine. That's all I expected this year, was perfectly fine, to, like, he's not even getting in the way. Like, he's just letting guys run by.
He stood there. Yeah. Baron Browning had a career day out of nowhere.
Yeah, I mean, Baron Browning is Micah Parsons or whatever, like, you know, just the Diet Coke version of Micah Parsons. So Micah Parsons. So, like, I totally get Baron Browning being a good pass rusher, and I think he's a great young player. But, like, I mean, it was literally for every time the ball was snapped, Matt Pryor wasn't moving, and whoever was on the outside was getting around him. And then on the other side, Bernhard Raimann was getting his hands on guys, but he was getting his hands on them a little too much. He was yanking, he was holding. I think he had 5 penalties in this game. And then when he wasn't committing penalties, he was just getting bowled over. He looked a lot like Eric Fisher did last year, just no anchor whatsoever. So yeah, I really don't know, man. This offensive line, it's so bad. And honestly, I feel like it's going to give a lot of excuses to Matt Ryan. And Matt Ryan was really bad too. Like Matt Ryan was terrible in this game. Like even when he had time, there's one thing I got to say about Matt Ryan. I thought going into this season, I thought his arm was going to be better than Phillip Rivers was in 2020. I legit thought off of all the film I saw from the last 2 years, Matt Ryan's arm looked fine. Like I thought he still had a good arm, but his arm looks worse than Phillip Rivers did in 2020. Like his arm is terrible. Like he can't. Like there is zero deep threat on the Colts. Like Phillip Rivers could at least get the ball down the field, and there was some deep threat. The Colts have nothing past 15 yards. Like their whole offense is under 15 yards. And when teams are bringing down their deep safeties and they're running more single high or more cover 3 just to get more guys over the middle, Matt Ryan's throwing just terrible picks. So yeah, I really don't envision this offense getting better. I don't see any way that this offense even gets to league average this year because I don't see Matt Ryan or this offensive line getting any better. I think the receivers are actually pretty interesting and the pass catchers are pretty interesting, but I don't know if it's salvageable with Matt Ryan and this offensive line. We've just seen this too many times. This is 5 games in a row now where we've just seen poor play from all of those guys. So yeah, I mean, I know we just won, guys, and I know I'm sounding pretty awful right now for a victory, but like, oh God, this offense is. I really don't know where the Colts can go with this offense. I don't know what they can do. Maybe you make a change at quarterback at some point. I don't know. Like I truly don't know.
That brings me to my next point. You and I have always kind of been of the camp that they're not going to pull any of these guys for Sam Ehlinger.
No.
It's getting to the point where do you do it? I mean, they won't. We know they won't. But would you?
I mean, why not? If it's you and me, I mean, why not? But again, Frank Reich's coaching for his job. They have to make the playoffs for him to
which is a big reason why they won't. Yeah.
Right. So they will never go to him. I think if they do anything, they go to Nick Foles, but I don't see that happening either. Like, look, Matt Ryan
that would be worse to me.
Season. But I just don't think it's going to get any better. Like it's bad. Matt Ryan looks cooked, and I don't have any way to kind of talk positively about that. Like he looks absolutely cooked. But I mean, if we want to talk about something positive, I mean, Alec Pierce is awesome. Like Alec Pierce is really good. He's really good.
Alec Pierce almost popped off for 100 yards today. 8 catches for 81 yards on only 9 targets. So there was only one target he didn't catch. So yeah, he had a really good game. I thought Michael Pittman had a more productive game than you would have thought against Patrick Surtain. I mean, not all of his receptions came that way, but 5 catches for 59 yards. Yeah, in general, I think it looks good with those guys. You come away impressed with Kylan Granson again. I do wonder, again, it's something we said, they could take advantage with the tight ends. Kylan Granson, 1 catch, and it was late in the game. Mo Alley-Cox, 1 catch after having 2 touchdowns last week and like 80 yards. Jelani Woods, 1 target, no catches.
There's just no time to throw. I mean, Alec Pierce is the only one that they can get to.
I get it.
They're all crazy. Like I don't.
That's my thing. Is at some point it's got to stop being an excuse. You know your line sucks. You have to move forward with that. Everyone on earth knows that if you have very limited time to throw, then you got to get quick. You just have to do something. Like all this play action stuff and like developing like. It's just not going to work with that line. They have to figure out something that is going to work. Otherwise, it's going to be this abomination all year. Like, that can't keep happening.
I'm telling you, man, Ryan's arm is so cooked right now, though, that teams are just sitting 10 to 15 yards off the ball. Like, they're not scared of the deep ball whatsoever. Mm-hmm. There is no deep threat for the Colts. That there is no deep option on this team. So, I mean, you can try to go the quick route, but teams are sitting on that. That's the only thing they can sit on. There's nothing, you don't have to sit on anything else in the passing game. That's why the run game is suffering so much, because teams don't have to, they are keying the run so heavy because there's no threat of anything else. And even if there were a deep the old line's not going to hold for that long. So it's just,
yeah.
I know we're ranting after a victory here, but like, God, Jesus. This O-line and this quarterback play is just terrible, you know. But hey, guys,
I think it's a good I think it's a good opportunity for us to talk about the optimistic side of it, which is the defense.
Yeah, so coming up, we're going to talk about the Colts defense and how they had a really strong day against Russell Wilson and the Broncos offense. But I want to tell you guys about Bet Online. I believe this game had Denver as 3.5-point favorites with a total of 43.5 over under. So hopefully you wagered accordingly. Hey, we did say hammer that under all week, so I feel like we were pretty good with that. BetOnline.net is your #1 source for football betting info this season. Find all the latest player developments, team matchups, news, podcasts, and in-depth articles and analysis on every game you can find. And as always, BetOnline remains your continued source for all your sport wagering information with live betting, up-to-the-minute scores for every sport out there. The fastest and easiest way to check in on all your favorite games and events, including MLB, MMA, boxing, and even golf. Head to betonline.net or use your mobile device to learn more. BetOnline, where the game starts. And thanks again, guys, for making Locked On Colts your first listen every day. Make sure you check out the NFL Key Predictions every Friday on Locked On NFL. Locked On's local experts give you the inside scoop on the 5 biggest games of the NFL weekend, including Sunday and Monday Night Football, plus betting advice from the field's leading experts, Bet Online. Follow NFL Key Predictions every Friday on Locked On NFL, available on the Odyssey app, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. All right, Jake, let's talk some defense. First off, I mean, for all the bad moves the Colts made, you know, I'm just going to say it. Bringing Matt Ryan is looking like a terrible move right now. Some of the other things they did this offseason, you know, left tackle and right guard, looking like terrible moves right now. But hiring Gus Bradley, signing Stephon Gilmore, they're looking pretty good. Like, I can't complain whatsoever about those right now. So some optimism right now. This defense, I think, is going to be a pretty solid unit this year.
Yeah, and I think the defensive line is warming up now too. Yannick Ngakoue with another 1.5 sacks today. He had one against Mahomes 2 weeks ago. He's coming along. I know he had that back thing. Buckner is really starting to look like himself. You know, he was on a pitch count last week, had the elbow. He had another pair of sacks today. So the line's getting better. Hopefully Kwity Paye, it's nothing too serious because, you know, you'd love to see him be a part of that. If not, it's probably going to be a lot more Dio Dangbo. I think I saw him out there primarily once Paye went down.
A lot of Ben Manigu out there too when Paye went down. A lot of Ben Manigu was out there for the last series.
Did he register? I didn't notice. Did he register anything?
I think he had a couple stops in the run game or something like that, but like he was out there a lot. So I'll have to go back and check on film. But Ben Manigu got there a decent bit, and he looked like he was getting out there more than Odenigbo after Odenigbo lost contain on that one run in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, not the first time that's happened there. Linebackers, I thought Bobby Okereke looked pretty good. In general, you know, his velocity and closing speed to get to ball carriers, and you know, if he's in the vicinity of a reception, that looks pretty good as well. I know the linebackers have been really polarizing for you though. What was your take on them today?
I think they've improved a lot the last couple of weeks. I think since after that Jacksonville game or whatever, I think Okereke's been phenomenal in this Gus Bradley defense. I think Zaire Franklin, outside of a couple coverage gaps each week, looks really good in closing speed. Again, he has a couple miscues every week. I think that leak might have been on him, but I can't remember. I got to go back and watch that play, obviously, this week. But I think Zaire Franklin is improving a lot. And we saw him, you know, he covered, I think, Cortland Sutton in the red zone on the first series of the game and had really nice coverage. So, yeah, I think the linebackers are coming along slowly. I'm a little nervous of how Shaq Leonard's going to fix, how he's going to, like, factor in when he comes back, because that could go either way. He could thrive in this, or he could look tentative like he did in that past game and kind of struggle. So I'm curious to see how he factors into it. But as of right now, these linebackers, I think, are playing pretty well in this scheme. And Bobby Okereke is playing like a Pro Bowl linebacker right now. Like his last couple weeks have been really, really good.
Yeah, I've noticed him quite a few times these last few weeks, especially. And I know the guys you really want to talk about, secondary. So we'll start with the corners. Stephon Gilmore, man, you had just alluded to it. He's looking really good for the second time in 3 weeks. He comes up with a game-sealing play against the Chiefs. He batted the pass.
He had two in this one. He had two in this game, though. He had the pick and then the pass breakup on the last play. Like, he had 2 game-saving plays in this one game.
Yeah, no doubt. Against the Chiefs, he had that one that Rodney McLeod picked off for the win. He had the pass breakup in front of Cortland Sutton. He had the interception in the end zone. He was on fire today. He was. I tweeted right after the game. He's worth every penny so far.
Yeah, absolutely. He's a true lockdown corner. He's just been phenomenal for the Colts and just perfect in this scheme. The Colts can do a lot more on defense when you have a guy like Stephon Gilmore because you don't really worry about his side. I think they threw it up before the game that he's allowed like the 5th least amount of yards in coverage among starting corners this year. So Stephon Gilmore has been phenomenal for the Colts. Just an outstanding outside corner and he deserves every penny that they gave him this offseason.
Mm-hmm. And I know you want this one bad. Rodney Thomas came up with his first interception today.
Yeah, it should, dude. He could have had 3 picks in this game. I mean, the one where the ref tackled him, the one where the ref tackled him was going to be a pick. I mean, or a pick or a pass breakup. Like he was going to make a play on that ball. And then he had the one where Jerry Jeudy beat him, but Russ threw a bad ball, and then he recovered perfectly, got 2 hands on it, and it just went through his hands. And then obviously he had the pick where Russ literally just threw it to him. Ron Thomas is looking good back there, man. The closing speed is phenomenal.
It is.
It is kind of really funny that we got all excited about Nick Cross all offseason. Nick Cross has kind of taken a back seat these last couple of weeks, and it's been 7th rounder Rodney Thomas that's been just phenomenal for the Colts. So I want to see more of him. I think everything that he's shown so far is good. There are still some mistakes here and there because it's tough being the single high safety in this scheme, but. Yeah, I don't want to say it, but like part of me is like, you know what, Julian Blackmon, take as much time as you need because I want to keep seeing Rodney Thomas back there. I think he's looked really, really good.
I felt the same thing, man. It's like, you want Julian Blackmon to play when he gets back because he's one of your better players, but I don't want to not see Rodney Thomas. Like that, if there's a way to get them to coexist and have Rodney McLeod out there too, like I'd be all for it, but. He's so good, and like I can't think of a Colts defensive back with that closing speed really since like a healthy Malik Hooker. Really, that's what seeing him out there in the deep half. That's what he reminds me of. He just gets the ball instantly, even if he gets beat, like you mentioned. His closing speed and his makeup speed is tremendous.
Yeah, it's a lot like Julian Blackmon, I think, has insane speed and athleticism when he's coming downhill, but it's not the same moving side to side or opening those hips and going deep or whatever. Rodney Thomas, it's all around. That explosion you can see on every single snap, that closing speed. He definitely plays faster than his 40s. His 40 time was 4.51, which was fast, but he plays even faster than that. He plays like a low 4.4s guy or a high 4.3s guy. Along with being just a huge human being, so he's a really good young player, and I'm really, really excited about his potential in this defense. And yeah, I'm with you, man. I just want to see more of him. I don't want him to go on the bench at all. I'd rather see him out there all the time.
Yeah, I thought he was going to take that pick back to the house, but he got bit by the turf monster, unfortunately.
We wouldn't have needed overtime. The game would have been over.
Right?
If he took that back, the game was over. Like there was no way that nobody was scoring more than 13 in that game.
We did not need overtime in this one. Well, shoot. You got anything else before we hop off?
No, man. I'm ready to go to bed.
Yeah, it's 1, 2, 3, 4 right now, 12:34, and it is time for us to retire. That's obviously it for us. Zach will be with you guys next week with a good group of guests. I'm actually going to be out all week at a family wedding in Mexico, so super unavailable to you guys, but I will miss you.
Yeah, make sure you guys follow us on Twitter at JakeArthurNFL. Even though he won't have any tweets this week, you can just give him a follow. At Zach Hicks too for all your daily snark, and at Locked On Colts. Also subscribe to the shows on YouTube wherever you listen to podcasts. And thanks again for making Locked On Colts your first listen every day. Now I'll make the second listen the Peacock and Williamson NFL show. Brian Peacock and former NFL scout Matt Williamson give you the expert NFL analysis in less than 30 minutes. It's free and available wherever you get your podcast. We'll see you guys next week.